Raiden, what you said before about your sword being a tool of justice, I just want to say I agree 100%. I wish all PMCs thought that way.
Glad to hear you say that.
You mentioned it was part of some samurai code?
Yeah. I didn't grow up using a sword. I fell into it by chance, during a mission. After that, I decided to train with the HF blade. I studied a lot of samurai techniques. I really got into it. Started learning more and more about ancient Japan and the samurai code. I tore through stacks of books, movies, anything I could get my hands on.
Somehow hard to imagine you settling in with a big bucket of popcorn.
What? A cyborg can't have hobbies? I'll have you know I'm actually a huge movie buff.
Okay, okay. So that's where you picked up this Sword of Justice creed?
Yeah. Most of it from a single master named Munenori Yagyu. He founded a school of swordsmanship on the idea that violence can be necessary for the greater good. He called it Katsujinken, the life-giving sword. Yagyu believed power isn't evil in itself. It's how it's applied that matters. As time went on, Katsujinken incorporated deterrence. It took on the meaning of winning without fighting. Or as I like to say, one sword keeps another in the sheath. That's from George Herbert. He was an English priest, 17th century, almost the same era as Yagyu.
Huh. It's a universal idea, I guess.
You could frame the same message as use of a necessary evil, but I think it's a good mindset for any PMC.
At least as long as there's fighting that requires us in the first place.
Which doesn't seem likely to change anytime soon.
It is a high-frequency blade, Raiden, not a plasma sword. There are limits to what it can cut. The HF waves strengthen the metallic bonds in the blade, improving its cutting ability. But in terms of pure physics, no blade can cut it in every situation. Theoretically speaking, an HF blade can damage anything, no matter how tough. But thick ceramic or carbon nanotube armor does not simply split open like butter with a hot knife. You need to chip away at it first, before you can destroy such material. Ah, an Irving, yes? Rather old school, as they say.
Not your cup of tea, Doc?
Oh, no. One could argue they dominated during the SOP days, but they certainly are not much use now. They have been improved upon over the years, no doubt. But there's only so much one can do with such outdated technology. You have a fair amount of experience with them already, yes? I doubt you need any battle advice from me.
No, probably not. It's been a while, but I still remember how they move, their ticks and tells. They telegraph most of their moves in advance. So long as I can parry its attacks, I can strike back often.
I do believe, however, that the armor on its legs has been improved. I imagine that a simple slash or two will be insufficient to topple it this time.
We'll see.
I imagine you already know this, but the defenses on an Irving unit cannot be broken in a single strike. The leg armor has also been reinforced. You must weaken it first, before you can break through. Raiden, the Mistral woman, is she truly a full-body cyborg?
That's what the intel says, at least. Why? You notice something?
Indeed. Two somethings, in fact. Based on their movements, her chest region did not appear to be artificial.
You can tell that just from what I saw?
Indeed. After some detailed image analysis, I am 80% certain that is her own natural torso. If it is indeed a cyborg chassis, it is the most advanced I have ever seen. Such technology would not come cheap. It would mean whoever is backing Desperado is likely quite wealthy.
Probably so. As far as Mistral goes, it really doesn't matter to me. Natural, synthetic, man, woman, an enemy is an enemy.
Ah, are you not even the least bit curious?
Doc, I'm seeing Desperado cyborgs explode here after I take them down.
For security purposes, I would imagine. Cyborgs often use classified tech from suppliers who take great pains to maintain their trade secrets. Most likely, these models have a self-destruct failsafe that triggers once they cannot defend themselves.
So they die even though their brains could be transferred to a new body?
I understand your concern, Raiden, but I am sure these conditions were clearly stated in their contracts. This is one area that is well regulated by the law. PMCs must inform their workers of such things. These men knew the danger when they signed up. No doubt they were compensated for the additional risk.
Right.
You should be more concerned with the potential for data loss in these explosions. They could damage or even erase the holographic memory in their left hands. Though to think on it, the data is most likely automatically wiped before detonation, just in case it would survive the explosion and resulting shockwave, you know.
Yeah. Sure, Doc.
You must remove the hands before the critical system shutdown sequence can activate. Remember it this way. Before you kill, make certain no cyborg is left with a left hand. Raiden, have I told you of the research I was conducting before we met?
Several times.
It was the Cold War. East Germany. The DDR. My field was infantry weapon research. It was a magical time. Secret research. Top secret, you know. All for the Soviets, but so exciting. I was free to explore wherever my findings took me. I never had a budget request refused. Not once. I was young then. Working, always working. Most nights I would sleep under my desk, you know. Call it nostalgie, but East Germany wasn't so bad. Nostalgie being German for East nostalgia, of course.
Of course.
Yes, the bureaucracy had its problems. But my colleagues, the discoveries. Well, in any case, after unification, they suddenly shut down our entire facility. Everything I'd worked for, my job, my research, poof, gone just like that.
Sounds rough.
I've often said I would be a homeless vagrant if myoelectric prosthesis hadn't lent me a hand. Artificial limbs were crude props then, you know, designed only for appearances. They were hardly functional. If you lost an arm or leg, you were disabled, and that was that. The key was running actuators based on electromyography signals from the skin's surface, of course. This enabled a great range of movement, even more so than a natural limb. It was then I realized my knowledge of robotics and engineering could come in handy. So, I contacted a prosthesis laboratory in Dortmund, and I was hired immediately. Patents filed in my name made quite a bit of money, you know. Soon I was made the head of my own lab.
And that's when you started filling orders from PMCs.
Indeed. From contractors who'd been referred by their employers, to be exact. Workers from your industry quickly became our best customers. We were flooded with orders. But my field was never full body conversions. You can imagine my surprise when Boris contacted me.
Yeah. Our previous cybernetics maintenance guy went into hiding.
But I built on my knowledge and now consider myself an expert on all cyborgs, both partial and full body.
Glad I could help with your on-the-job training. Seriously, though, we're lucky to have you on board.
Yes, I should think we have both benefited from our arrangement. Which reminds me, do not forget our other arrangement. The cyborg's left hands, if you would.
Got it.
Excellent, very well done. More Patriot intel, bring me more, and maybe I can develop something interesting from it. cliff is just ahead at the end of the old city. Beyond that is the refinery's backyard.
So what? It's a sheer drop? The refinery's not connected to the city at all?
No, it was only built 2 years ago. There should be a narrow path around there that leads to the plant. It is protected by a fence, but probably you can cut your way through.
Probably.
Don't get cocky. Most likely it is Desperado running security down there. Good. That's the back of the refinery. I see a door there, but it probably has an alarm. Can you use the ventilation duct?
You mean that huge fan?
Just cut off the blades as it spins. Easy, yes?
We got anything on that ray I went up against?
We analyzed the wreckage. Its musculature had been replaced with CNT muscle fiber. The same type as you, or most any cyborg. This improved its power output and left more room in the chassis for other equipment. It seems they filled this space with Vetronics and extra weapons.
Like that heat blade and plasma gun. Plasma loses effectiveness in the air pretty quickly, but it's still a hell of a close-range weapon.
Large-scale UGs have a growing problem fighting smaller, more agile opponents like you, Raiden. This is why we now see UGs armed with new countermeasures, such as this Ray had.
Hey, so, Kev, buddy, about the refinery. Can I get a quick breakdown of the facilities?
Copy that. I suppose you should at least know a few basics for the mission. So, like I was saying, the refining process is based around distillation. The tallest building on site is the distillation tower. All the crude oil runs through there first, where it's distilled at different boiling ranges. Lighter components with low boiling points are removed at the top of the tower, heavier ones at the base. The heaviest fuel oil then has the lighter oils and naphtha that distillation didn't remove taken out. Fluid catalytic cracking is what they call it. Other than that, let's see. There's equipment to remove sulfur, a cooling tower to dispose of all the water used. Oh, and the flare stack to eliminate gas waste. You see that thing with flames shooting out the top? That's the stack.
It's burning the gas off?
Yeah, burns it up completely, rendering it harmless. Kinda hypnotic if you stare at it a while, huh? Next door you have a power plant. It's pretty typical for this type of facility. And of course the gas tanks. Liquefied petroleum gas, LPG, is pressurized and stored in those round tanks. It's also artificial, but it's got a certain charm, you know? Like the ultimate in utilitarian beauty. A solitary distillation tower, all lit up and set against the setting sun. It's an amazing sight.
Kev, you still with me there?
What? You don't appreciate this kind of stuff? Places like Germany and Japan, people get really into it. Factory sightseeing tours and everything.
Yeah. No, not so much.
Righty, FYI, we just confirmed with the client for your next mission.
Great. How about we finish this one first, though? I'd like to see my family again someday, you know? My son's going to forget he even has a father.
90-day contracting tour, buddy. We're all in the same boat. Man, feels like ages since I was back in Virginia.
I don't know about in the same boat. These guys are out to tear me limb from limb. Worst you are EMF desk jockeys have to worry about are paper cuts.
All right. Guess you don't want to hear what your old friends are up to then.
Who is it?
Desperado.
Where is it this time?
Mexico. Apparently they've got some kind of lab in Guadalajara. You're going in to investigate claims of human trafficking and illegal dumping.
And our client? Who's picking up the tab? If we're planning to play police all of a sudden, we're gonna need some kind of budget.
No worries there. It's a human rights group we've worked with a few times before. They were conducting their own trafficking investigation when Desperado came up.
Understood. You can brief me when I get back.
Roger that.